Welcome. Your session will begin shortly. Today's session will last for approximately 20 minutes. During the presentation, please ensure that you are in a suitable environment and that your microphone is muted. If you would like to ask anything during the session, please enter the question into the text box provided. These will be answered at the end of the webinar. There will also be an option to unmute and ask your questions then. Please feel free to make notes while you watch. If you would like to listen again, the webinar will be forwarded to your email address after the session. Hello everyone, and welcome to today's session on communicating with customers in a trade business. By the end of this session, you will be able to describe the difference between hearing and listening, explain how to actively listen and how to respond to body language, explain how to use effective questioning techniques and summarize information, identify and describe the information that needs to be recorded and how to take a message. Now we are going to examine the way we communicate with our customers by investigating the difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is passive. This means that it is something that we can do without any effort. We all know how it feels to be in front of someone who is talking and hearing them speak without actually listening to them. The sound of someone's voice can be heard, but we are not registering what is being said. We can look like we're listening. We can nod, make facial expressions. Sometimes we can even say words that look like we're paying attention. This is not what we should be doing when customers talk to us. It will lose us sales and damage the reputation of our company. Now we are going to look at listening. Listening is a skill. We have to actively use it in order to effectively communicate with our customers. In order to listen, we have to concentrate and be focused. This can be difficult, but gets better with practice. We have to decide to really tune ourselves into what the customer is saying. Active listening can consist of both verbal and non-verbal cues. Non-verbal cues, such as nodding and eye contact, show that you are interested and engaged in what the speaker is saying. Sometimes a customer has so much to say that we find it hard to actively listen. If this happens, there are ways that we can tune our minds in to the conversation. So, for example, if the conversation is taking place over the telephone, you may wish to take some notes. You can then make reference to those notes when you are replying to the customer. This lets the customer know that you've actively listened to them and creates a professional impression. In a face-to-face conversation, it's really useful to repeat back to the customer some of the information they have just given you. These verbal cues can vary from repeating or summarizing parts of what is being said to asking appropriate follow-up questions to engage your speaker. When you use these kinds of verbal cues, you are confirming to the customer you are listening to them, and it helps them to be reassured. Remember, it is impossible to have a conversation without actively listening. Conversation is the foundation of great customer service and the starting point of the sales process. We are now going to look at active listening and how it is essential for communication. Have a look at stage 1. The picture of the receiving ear. This reminds us that sounds reach us, but we may not be actively listening. When a customer is talking, we have to decide to take notice. We have to consciously listen. Once we have started to do this, we can move on to the second stage. Stage 2 illustrates the understanding brain. In order to get into a conversation, we have to listen to and then make sense of the things the customer is saying. Now that you have understood the customer's requirements, you are ready to move on to stage 3. Stage 3 is the remembering stage of the process. The customer has just given you information, and in some cases you will have invested some time asking questions to get more detail. Now it's essential that you remember the information. All of us have different abilities to remember. Some people have automatic recall, but that is not necessary when having a conversation. Don't worry about remembering every word, but if you have actively listened and really engaged your understanding brain, you will remember enough. Now that you have the information committed to your memory, you are ready to move on with the process. Stage 4 shows the evaluating brain. Now that you have a great understanding and a few key points, you are ready to start to form your ideas. You will be able to assess the information you have just received and start to put together your response. This leads you naturally into the final stage of the listening process. Stage 5 illustrates the feedback part of the process. Now you have listened, understood, remembered and evaluated, you are ready to offer your feedback. This is a great opportunity to confirm to the customer that you have really listened to them. This inspires confidence in the customer and shows that you are professional and committed to helping them. We all love to be listened to. Let the customer know that you have been paying attention by repeating some of the things that they have said to you. As time goes by and you become more confident, you will find that you are not just repeating their words, but paraphrasing or even eventually putting things into your own words. Communicating with customers is not always about making a sale. You will be answering inquiries, or maybe you might have to deal with a customer complaint. However, whenever you engage with a customer, you can provide excellent customer service if you actively listen. Great listening skills make customers happy, and they make your job easier. Remember the steps and practice them every time you talk to a customer. As you are aware, communication comes in many forms. This can include speaking and listening, which is verbal communication. There is another form of non-verbal communication that you will also be familiar with, and that is called body language. It's important that you're aware of your body language, and then you can start using it to your advantage. Did you know that only 45% of your personal communication is verbal? In fact, only 7% of this verbal communication comes from the words that you choose to use. The rest of people's understanding comes from the way you speak. Most people will form impressions of your personal attitude through your tone, your volume, and even the speed that you talk at. As you can see, the other 55% is communicated physically through body language and facial expressions. We all know what a tired person looks like: droopy, slouchy, lacking in facial expressions, or sometimes frowning and grimacing. Remember that people can judge your body language even if you're on the phone. So don't slouch over your desk when you're on the phone, and smile when you speak, because there is evidence to suggest that smiles can be heard as well as seen. But for the moment, let's focus on our body language in face-to-face situations. We'll be looking at poor body language and how it can sabotage your communication, and investigating ways to super-tune your body language to get great results. There are different ways in which parts of your body play a part in communication and body language. Eye contact is one of the first things that people usually notice. It's important to have good eye contact with a person. Looking away and not making eye contact is negative. It makes the person seem aloof, dismissive, or defensive. Keeping good eye contact is fundamental and part of positive body language. It demonstrates to the person you are talking to that you are listening, that you are open, and your attention is directed to them. However, maintaining persistent eye contact and staring someone down can make them feel really uncomfortable and is often seen as an aggressive gesture. So it's important to maintain a balance when using eye contact. Now let's think about our arms. What you do with your arms says a lot about how you're feeling. Keeping your arms folded is a negative gesture, as if you are covering yourself, and it appears defensive. Even though many people consider this to be a comfortable resting gesture, it is not positive. It can also get in the way of communication generally, as a lot of people talk with their hands, and so if your arms are folded, you can't do this. Talking with your hands is a great use of positive body language, and lots of people do it unconsciously to help convey, to demonstrate, and to reinforce what they are saying. Finally, it's important to think about the way you stand. Slouching, having your hands in your pockets, or kicking your feet are all forms of negative body language, and tell the person you are speaking to that you are distracted and not interested in them or what they have to say. You should stand up straight but not rigid, so that you seem comfortable and approachable to your customers. Smile at them and try to mirror their body language, which is key to developing a rapport when dealing with customers face to face. When communicating with customers, whether it be face to face, on the telephone, by letter, by text, or by email, it's really important to promote a consistent approach. It is essential that customer service language is used. This promotes the company brand. Customer service language leaves a lasting impression on customers and should be the same whichever depot they are dealing with. Every member of the team needs to practice and use customer service language until it becomes natural and second nature. Sometimes it can seem a little bit strange using customer service language, but the more you practice, the easier it becomes. So, for instance, when we use the telephone, we use a formula. This formula may sound like this. Good afternoon, the Real Apprenticeship Company, Warwick, Ellie speaking, how can I help you? In this example, we have warmly greeted our customer, introduced our company and our company location, ourselves, and most importantly, we have offered help. Communication is not just about being polite and friendly. In a commercial environment, it's also about being effective. A customer who constantly experiences excellent customer service language starts to really identify with the company and becomes loyal to the brand. Customers enjoy being communicated with in a warm and professional way, and they feel reassured when it happens every time. Speaking to our customers in a particular customer service language gives us an advantage over our competitors. It shows that we are reliable, trusted, and accountable, and customers feel valued and respected. The way we speak to our customers enhances our reputation and grows our business. Now we are going to move on to how to effectively communicate with customers to meet their needs. Conversations that are active and fulfilling are full of questions. It moves the conversation along and creates a good flow. Questioning techniques are important as this will help you to gain an understanding of your customer's requirements, along with an opportunity to actively sell. Open questions are a great way of gaining more detailed understanding of your customer's needs. An open question is designed to encourage full, meaningful answers, thereby avoiding the dreaded word no, which, as you know, is a conversation killer and makes it hard to move on. When you are engaging with a customer in conversation, try to use questions that start with the following words: what, when, how, where, who. Any question that starts with one of these 6 words will enable you to gain more information from your customer. For example, how can I help? When are you expecting this to be delivered? What type of taps do you think you'd like? How many of those do you need? Who is this kitchen for? Closed questions are not suitable for moving conversations along, but they are a great way of summarising and confirming information and ending a conversation or even closing a sale. So, for instance, is 12:30 okay for delivery? Or are you looking for anything else? Leading questions can play a part in active selling, but they do have their drawbacks sometimes. Leading questions are good if you're trying to promote a product. You can draw the customer towards the conclusion you want, and then you can go on to upselling. But you can also end up drawing the customer towards a product or a conclusion which is not helpful to them, and this may convey the wrong attitude. This can also seem to be very annoying if the customer is not interested in looking at additional products or is in a hurry. For example, if a customer is interested in buying a kitchen and wants to look at the depot's range of vinyl flooring, you could use a leading question to draw the customer towards an alternative or an additional product. A positive example would be, how do you feel about me quickly showing you our ceramic tiles so that you can make a comparison? While a negative example would be, are you sure that you don't want to explore other options? We mentioned earlier that taking notes can be really useful when communicating with a customer. Note-taking allows you to reflect on the purpose of the customer contact and also enables you to use these details in the future to fully support customer service. When you are dealing with an incoming phone call or a customer that requests the named team member as their preferred contact, it is necessary to take notes in a thorough and professional way. The content of the message should contain these details as a minimum: the customer's name, the customer's contact details and a convenient time to call back, the customer's account details, and a summary of the conversation and any particular requests that need to be addressed. Remember to warmly thank the customer for their inquiry and reassure them that they will be contacted as soon as possible. Please remember that all of this information is covered by the Data Protection Act and should be managed accordingly, so please be careful with your notes and dispose of them in a safe way. During this session, we have covered the difference between hearing and listening, how to actively listen and how to respond to body language, how to use effective questioning techniques and summarize information, and how to identify and describe the information to be recorded when taking a message. Thank you for your attendance. Please unmute yourself if you have any questions.